go. All right, if you wanted to try to arithmetize this, this is what it would look like. Let's see. Let's plug in. I'm going to plug in 4. Right? Here we go. Let's see. 4 squared, 16. 16 times 6. Oh, my. Pick too big of a number. Right? 96. 5 times 4 is 20. That plus 20 is 116. That's 13. Okay? Now, that's just a weird fraction. Can't really reduce that, can we? As far as I know. No, we can't. All right, anyway, if we plug in 4 down below here, that's definitely not that because that's 8, right? Plug in 4 here. That's 16, right? Not that one. Plug in 4. 4 times 2 is 8 minus 1 over, let's see, 4 times 3 is 12. 12 plus 1 is 13. 8 minus 1/13. Let's see. What's 8 in terms of 13s? Let's do that. 8 times 13. It's 104. So 104 13s minus that. Well, it must be D then, right? Let's double check it. Ready? Plug in 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 plus 1 is 9. This is 1/13. We just had that. So now we got 9 minus 1/13. Well, this was 8. So then 9 must be 13 more of those. So we're going to have 117 over 13 minus 1/13, which looks a lot like that guy right there. It is D, right? If you can do that, even if you don't know long division, you just did one of the hardest questions on the test. One that literally might make the difference for somebody getting a 790 versus an 800 in math. Just because you can arithmetize. That is no joke. Now, I'm going to show you the long way. Long way. I don't know about long way. I'm going to show you the proper way. Here you go. Long division. Long division. Yeah, what's up? Here we go. It's nice, and I like doing that with sharing the screen and all that. Anyway, here we go. Proper way. We start with this divided by this. You should write this down. Take a little note. Okay. Leading term divided by the leading term. So think of this off to the side. 6x squared divided by 3x. That's 6 divided by 3, which is 2. X squared divided by x to the first. That's 2x. Here was the second step. Second step was we distributed back to here. This is just like plain old long division that you did in, I don't even know, what, 4th grade, 5th grade? It doesn't mean you remember how to do it with variables, right? We did this earlier in the fall. Just a little review. Next, let's subtract. Remember, you subtract the whole thing. This is where errors happen all the time. This should always be 0, the first part. And then 5x minus 2x is 3x. And then we repeat the process again. That divided by the leading term. Well, that's easy, right? It's 1. Then we distribute again. If you remember, sometimes there was a missing term in this. Sometimes the x was missing, or x squared if it was a much longer one. In this case, a number's missing, right? We filled in with the 0 like that. So there was always a part to this where you dropped something down, and I skipped over that this time because there was nothing there. But you should always drop down that number. Okay? Now, when we subtract this, 0 minus 1, there you go. What's that number called? Remainder. Yes, we're going to talk about remainders today as well. That's your remainder. You can also write your remainder in the form of a fraction like this over here. The remainder divided by what you were dividing with, your divisor, okay? Anyway, that's your answer. That's the, quote, proper way, right? But if you have the benefit of multiple choice, you can always arithmetize these. It's like one of the coolest strategies on multiple choice tests. It's really good. So if you can practice that on each one of these, you should be good to go. All right. Now, let's pause real quick here. Okay, so on this first one, we're going to skip that. I'm not going to ask you to long divide numbers. Let's go down to the second one here. All right, which of the following is equivalent to the expression above? Now, you can always arithmetize, like I said, but if you're starting off and you're going to try it out the long way, this is how you should begin. Now, I'm going to give you about a minute to start. I just want to remind you, this is how you begin, right? This divided by that. Then you write your answer up here, which in this case is what? What's x cubed divided by x? What do you do when you divide? What do you do with the exponents? Subtract them. Right? Next step is this. And we write that down here. Don't forget we're subtracting that. So in this case, we'll be subtracting a negative. Okay, I'm going to pause here. I want you to try it out. Try it out the proper way. And you can always check yourself by arithmetizing. All right, I'm going to start working on it up here. If you want to keep working, just don't look up. Now, once I'm here and it's multiple choice, I can pause and notice, okay, this one's plus 6, this one's minus 2. There we go. So if you arithmetize, you got pretty lucky there. If you started with A, that worked out well for you. It might have been faster. Whew. Okay, now here's how it would finish off. That times both of those. You subtract. 5 minus 4 is 1. That's your remainder. All right, now, before we go on, there's another theorem that we talked about. It was called the remainder theorem. And there's a Khan Academy assignment about it, and it looked like this. The question was, what is the remainder? when divided by x plus 1. And there was a shortcut. You did not have to long divide. The shortcut was you could plug in the opposite of this. If you plug in the opposite of this up into here, the remainder gets spit right out. Okay, so let's do that. Plug it in. Don't forget, when you take a negative number to an even power, it turns it into a positive. Ooh, sorry, I really scrunched it up there. That's 1. 1 times 3, 3. Remember, do exponents first. This was a common math mistake, common algebra mistake, right? Do the exponents first. Negative 1 to the third is negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 2, positive 2. Negative 1 squared is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. Combine all those. 5, 7, 6. Bingo. Sounded like a messed up count down there. How do you find the remainder? You plug in the opposite of the thing you're dividing by. Take a look at your sheet now that I just gave you. Take a look at example 2. Example 2 is asking about what is k. If you remember, the first question we did from your packet, I said, what's this number called? What's it called? The one on top of the fraction there? The remainder. This is where the remainder is. So you could divide all that out and waste a lot of time, or you can plug in the opposite of this. That's how you can find your remainder. So try that right now. Plug in negative 2, and where do we plug it in? We're plugging it in up top here to the thing with which we are dividing right there. Plug it in. That will spit out your remainder. The remainder theorem saves a lot of time. Should end up with 29, right? Right. Remember, you're plugging in a negative number. It gets kind of funky when you do that. Make sure you're applying the exponent first before you multiply. So this is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. We got a negative times a negative. That turns this into plus 7. The remainder is 29. That's the remainder theorem. Flip that page over. I want to talk about number 4 tomorrow, but I want you to do problems 1, 2, and 3 for homework, okay? Secondly, there is a con assignment, and it's the remainder theorem. Now, at the beginning of class tomorrow, I'll go over maybe one more of these just to kind of straighten anything out, okay? But you can work on that today and those 3 questions. I know it's a lot. Ready?